So I just got done watching The Low Road. And I just got done watching The Road. Also known as a 19-minute build-up to a fart joke, The Low Road focuses on Rhinox being infected by an energon discharge virus that is threatening to expel all the energy in his system, thus shutting him down and causing a massive amount of damage to the surroundings in the process. It is up to Rat Trap and Dinobot, who for some reason Primal sent on this very, very important mission in the middle of some of their worst squabbling ever, to go get the counter virus to save Rhinox. Oh boy. Oh boy. This episode. Okay, so let's get to some of the serious stuff first, because there's very little of it. The plot is remarkably similar to Guerrilla Warfare, almost a complete rewrite of that episode. We are dealing with a viral infection to one of our maximal heroes. We have Dinobot taking the lead in getting the counter virus to save a friend, and then the infected one actually wanting to turn the results of the virus against the Predacons. Pretty much the same plot verbatim, though we now have Primal in his full capacity leading the charge here, which means we get to kind of find out how he would have negotiated through that situation, or at least how he would have gone about getting the antivirus. Which, big surprise, it's basically the same thing they did before. Bust through the base and take it. Though, this time it was Tarantulas' lair, not the actual Pred base. Just like that episode as well, Primal just assumes there's an antidote, which is still weird to me. Like, if you create a viral agent as a weapon, typically you don't assume that there is a counter virus just readily available somewhere in the enemy headquarters. You kind of assume that, they built a virus that you couldn't stop, so why would they why would they intentionally create a method of stopping it? I guess in case someone on their own side got infected, you could possibly postulate that. That doesn't mean you have to literally have a tank of it ready to go, though. You could just, here's the formula, in case anyone gets infected, whip it up real quick. No, it's always a bargaining chip that Megatron likes to keep around. And it was the undoing of him last time, and he didn't learn, so we're gonna do it again, apparently. So, yeah, that's okay. That's just like quibbling over the plot of this episode, and this is not an episode that you quibble over the plot, right? Speaking of, Rat Trap and Dinobot are like at their absolute best here. They spend the entire episode just hurling insults and snide comments at each other, from the onset of them going through the wild bean vines outside the base, which leads to Dinobot literally trying to murder Rat Trap, them trying to get along while tracking down Tarantulas, all the mischief in the caves under going toward Tarantulas' lab. They are bickering and flinging insults the entire freaking time. We will recall both are voiced by Scott McNeil, meaning that half of this episode was just him in a small padded room screaming insults to himself over and over and over again. And if you've ever seen Scott transition voices in any of my old videos of his panels, you will know that he can do so exceedingly quickly. It is not a case of he did one character and then he did another character. No, he just boom, 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 boom. So, if you are in the studio and you are watching this, I can only assume that you believe that you are witnessing a complete and total mental breakdown, or at least the best summary of what one would look like had you actually been looking at one. It makes for an amusing episode. It definitely does. But yeah, I think this is the episode where Rat Trap and Dinobot's dynamic really gets enforced. We've seen them we've seen them bickering playfully in past episodes. This is like the most heated they get throughout the series. And what was supposed to be like a bonding moment, they never really bonded here. Let's see. There's a few other noteworthy things that we can bring up. So, for instance, we learned that Maximals can eat and process organic food. So, they're being written more humanoid, so they're easier to understand. Taking breaths when they come out of water, for instance, being able to smell things, and now eating things in order to process energon within their own bodies, which is not too unheard of. They're basically creating biofuel within themselves. I can understand where it's not as potent as energon, but enough to get you by. Okay, I can kind of get that. We also saw a very rare sighting of Tigatron and Cheetor both using their gut guns at the same time when they bust into Tarantulas' lab. It's extremely rare when that happens. Cheetor's usually using the butt gun instead if Tigatron's wielding a weapon. Rare moment. Also, regarding that scene, why is Air Razor in that pose? I know this is like a weird comedy episode, but like seriously, it's so demeaning. Also, as long as we're quibbling this, when Rhinox stopped to eat the wild bean vines, Cheetor and Tigatron were running full speed. Primal was flying full speed. How did the big lumbering rhino catch up to them after eating? No clue. But seriously, like, the meat of this episode is the comedy. I had people commenting that this was going to be the episode that got the first terrible rating on my scale. And in the grand scheme of things, yes. Like, there's no character development. There's no plot development. There's nothing, like, intelligent to dissect here. Like, this is the meaning behind this. And isn't this an interesting character trait? No. This is just a very dumb comedy episode. That said, it's very good at being a very dumb comic episode. Everyone knows it for the final moment where Rhinox lets off an atomic fart to wipe out the Predacons. But that really fails to give the episode's comedic punches enough credit. You've got Primal just putting the base back together, so flustered he doesn't care if Rat Trap and Dinobot scrap each other. You've got the physical comedy of Rhinox dealing with the virus. Tarantulas, poor Tarantulas. There's a lot of sight gags with him, especially him getting the Indiana Jones boulder to the back and getting squashed. And my favorite bit is Dinobot trying to use him for a hostage, only for Megatron to just blast him away. We have other sight gags, Rat Trap walking between Megatron's legs. When Rhinox lifts the tail to aim, for lack of better terms, you can see the other Predacons slowly sidestep away from Megatron in sync, which is like a really nice, subtle touch. And then like Pterosaur getting cooked by one of the energy beams. There's a ton of comedic beats in this episode besides just Rhinox farted at the end. So you can't just write it off because of that one gag, that one juvenile, frat boy gag at the end. You got to look at all of it and understand they're not trying for some deep meaning episode. They're just trying to make a funny comedy episode, and that I think they succeeded. I'm still giving it a passable rating because there are some weirdnesses in the plot, and ultimately, yeah, this is based on taste. You can definitely say this is in poor taste, poor humor, but sometimes you just want to wait 19 minutes for a fart. That's all I'm saying. So, passable, bordering on enjoyable. Let's call it that. Either way, depends on the mood of the day. But that is another episode down the drain. We're getting close to the end of the season. Join me next time. We're going to keep this going until we get the entire season knocked out. And hey, we're going to go into season 2 as well. Stay tuned. Guys, I am facing the most powerful enemy any YouTuber can face, the algorithm, and I need your help to defeat him. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment. Every time you do, we attack that algorithm and we drive it back until it can no longer defeat this channel. Thank you very much.